Hey, well, welcome to the Dream Labs, Dr. Contrast Live. Sorry for the little bit of the delay here. I just got some things organized in the office and want to make sure we got a good start here. So hopefully we're going to go into a little system today that you might find a little bit intriguing. I hope so. The Architectural Rapid Sketch series here. I thought we just kind of turn things around a little bit here today and go after a stream attack that gets back to some more fundamental thinking and a different subject matter. I really enjoyed the GT40 process that we did, that commission piece last week. It was really a lot of fun to get that wrapped up and send off to the commission piece of the individual. They loved it, and it was a good process to go through. But I just thought today, I'm going to come right back in and do some little bit more fundamental things, something that's a little more functional. I don't want to treat this as an educational program so far in the stream, so to speak, for the rest of the duration here, but to go back in and do some, what I refer to, some very exciting things in terms of working with architecture. And I realize it's a little bit more perspective related, there's a little more technical in a sense, but seeing how planes and surfaces work, but I think it's a very good, valuable lesson to kind of roll back and take in some account of how it all begins to start and what the end product is and what do we look for, how do we analyze it, and how do we complete it. And as I said, and if you notice the title of the stream, Architectural Rapid Sketch. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing some finished drawings and so forth. I'm just going through a series of themes on building studies and so forth, or structural studies. And what I'd like to do, maybe just propose, get the pencil or the pen sketches down today, and then maybe pick a couple of themes and go into a series, for example, like maybe like tomorrow, doing maybe a second tune where you pick one and kind of tune down the drawing a little bit and get it ready for maybe a third set up on Thursday. Do a little bit of color study so we go from concept sketch right through to completion. So that might be some future reference, for example, of really following into this thing. Hey, how you doing, Shadow? Good to see you, Chief. How are you? Did you have a good weekend? You all rested? Good deal. Glad you joined us here. Before I begin, now that Shadow's on board here, I just want to take a moment to recognize a very good friend, Captain Starship Nemo. Really found out, he sent me a text this morning from West Germany and notified me that his father had passed away this past Sunday. And if he can't join us today on the stream, but he will be watching later. And I just want to pass on my sincerest regards to him as a good friend. And I really feel badly about the fact that his father has passed away. So Nemo, when you listen, we're thinking about you. Our thoughts and all concerns are with you and your family, and we hope all is well. And keep us posted and take care of yourself and all the very best under the circumstances. We appreciate you, Nemo, and boy, what a sad situation. So hang in there and be the vanguard that you are. So thank you. Anyhow, we'll go back into this process here today. I thought it'd be kind of nice to start with a very simple little, hey Nemo, thank you for your support. We're here for you. Yeah, that's right, Nemo, Shadow. It was a real sad situation. It happened suddenly, I suppose. I don't know if he was ill or had been ill, but nonetheless, let's do some jet-powered art. Hey, how you doing, Chip? How's everything? Jet-powered art. How about some jet-powered architecture? Does that make sense? So I want to go back and just a brief review. Architectural stuff is interesting because we go back and look at how we set things up before I go into the sketches. Just a couple of real quick refresher. Once we get that horizon line down, let's go through a couple of sketches here first. Let's lay this in. Get that horizon line down. Then we're going to do a two-point system. We're going to pick a VP and a VP. Then we're going to pick a leading edge, so to speak, come right back in and drive those lines into that thing and just begin to use that as a structural base. I think this is really important to start with here because it doesn't happen by chance. There's a certain concept in terms of how to deal with, for example, the power side of it all and how to work with shapes and so forth. But if you don't have if you don't have a real good solid structure to work from, it can get really testy in a hurry. So once you have that frame in mind, you can go back in and begin to pick into this thing and start to come up and add certain things to it and drive them back to the same vanishing lines and come back over the top and begin to build these surfaces with thicks and thins and begin to just change the tempo of the sketch, for example, going back to VPs and just drawing through the process here. Those are the kind of things I want to work with here first, just a basic fundamental of how the structure begins to work and what we're looking for in terms of the locations and positioning of surfaces, whether it's a solid or a glass surface and so forth. And what I'm going to move into in a few moments here is how to use this system to become a real good mapping device to keep us honest and keep the perspective correct. Even though they're very quick, rapid sketches for architectural concept pieces, they're all going to be built around this system here. Now, when you come above eye level, for example, or pardon me, below eye level, same system works. You come back in through here, then you drop down the plane, and you work like so. You pick up a certain reference to this. Maybe this is a plot of some sort. Then you pick up, for example, where that surface is going to fall in place. For example, that piece might come out and build in through here. build over here, but notice you're always coming back to that reference plane or that ground plane as a source to kind of keep things honest. And I think that's really critical, for example, to get that to work. So that platform base is the same as this. You don't see the platform here, but the ground plane is buried right in through here. And the same, the ground plane is here. So as you come forward with this thing, and you come forward on the surface, and you add another tall surface, you bring up the vertical, so to speak, bring up the vertical, take it back into VP, and then drive it back to the other VP to keep the sketch honest, and come right down the line. Just real loose little studies like that. Notice how it all comes back to ground plane, vanishing point, and all the structural pieces below, you drive it up to the surface itself, back to horizon line, and above the horizon line, drop it right back into VP, right and left. So based on that premise, let's take a look at some very simple little sketches here. I'm going to switch gears and go to a larger pad. I just want to go through a series of generations on some very fast, rapid little thumbnail sketches. And as I said in the intro here, the intent today is to not go in and really do a finished sketch, but I'm going to go through some rough studies, some really loose gesturally sketches on some architectural pieces. Then maybe tomorrow pick one or two and begin to refine it down a little bit. And then maybe on Thursday finish up a nice finish, maybe color rendering piece to go from like a series. And that's what I want to start doing more of as we begin to develop these surfaces along the way. So let's carry on here. Let's get this first one started. I'm going to clean the pen up just a bit here. Let's go back in and get the horizon line down. Let's go back in and just nail this thing in here. Nice simple horizon line. Get it started right across the pad. Again, let's come back in and pick up a plane of reference here. I'm just going to lay in a line. I'm going to come across, put a surface in, take that same surface and just fly it right out of there. Underneath and up over to the top. There's my design line right there. That's the surface I'm going to work from off of that horizon line. So there it is there. I'll come back in again and come right down the line here and give myself a baseline to work from here, and take that same shape and just rotate it in here like so. There's the base coming in here over the top of that. Bring it back down and just lift it just a bit off of ground. Then come back in and get that real severe plane to work. There it is right there. Now there's my substrate. That's going to come in. Let's put a section in this guy. It's going to come in, and I'm going to do this, and then just falls right back into place. It just rolls over. Let's put a little bit of ground reference back in through here. Let's kind of get this into Turi. There it is. There's ground here. I'm going to come forward just a bit to kind of create that platform to deal with here. There it is. I'll come back in again, and let's kind of move this thing. Let's just drop this in just a bit and do the following. This is really adventuresome shape here. Let's take this through and draw through it, and then just break that plane up by doing that. Really cool stuff. Now notice, real loose, real gesturally, nothing really defined. I'm just putting a base down to kind of get this thing put together here. We're breaking out of the larger pad. Some architecture is going to happen. Jet powered, of course. Let's hope so. Let's go back in through here. Let's kind of finish this off here. Let's come down to ground line, which is here. Let's pick this back up and just that tucks back underneath and does the following. Now we're going to bring it back out in perspective. Notice, these forms are being captivated inside that same shell we dealt with in the beginning here. So we're going to roll this over. In other words, horizon line is through here. Let me kind of carry that on. There's my horizon line right there. But these forms there's my leading edge. Back down in space, back down in space. So I'm following that same rule. So let's go back in there and just kind of stay with it just a bit here. Let's put a little bit of an entryway piece in here. Just kind of add that. Let's come out in perspective here just a bit. Let's kind of put this in place. A little promenade. Bring that into place. Take that through. Come back out through here and just put another little cupping place right here. Let's kind of go through a couple of cylinders. There's a little benchmark there. That's there. Let's draw that back. Now we're going to come with the ground plane to get this thing established. I'm going to take that right back into base and then roll it right out of there. So there's my promenade. There's a little seating space here. Let's come back inside here and add a nice little sculptural wall that sits back and does this. Just adding a little bit more detail to this thing to kind of take it away from just being a substrate in terms of, now we're going back in here. Let's pick another one up and just roll that right back in. Just get real transparent with the sketch. There it is. There's my underground. There's my others. And this goes back in perspective. So that whole building kind of tilts back in there like so. Let's do this. Divide it. Divide it. Divide it. And split it right up. There it is. That's now glass. That's hidden behind that form. Just gotta put more tone in this thing. Come back into here. Rolls my section. There it is there. Let's put a little bit of tone in this thing now. This is gonna be all negative. It rolls in like so. Let's put a little bit of this in place. Bit of foliage, got to soften it up just a bit. Got to take off some of the curse of that sweep. Again, notice real lucid. Nothing's really. Not want to pin anything down here. I just want to really get a good theme established about where we are. Let's take this back just a bit more. Let's kind of take this into here. Let's go back in through here. There's one module, another one, and it goes right around the bend there. Let's come out of that with another form here. Let's put a bit of tone in this thing. This is in the shadow area, so we're just going to drop that back just a bit, carry it through. With that undercut to read. Shadow, a little more shadow and that, and a little bit of tone on this side. Real quick. A little deeper, as that's away from my light source. And a real deep shadow. There it is there. That comes back. A little bit of tint in this sway line and that radius in there, and then just take it right up into the form itself. Let's come back and really beef this real strong edge. Bring that up. Put a little bit of tint in this, just enough to kind of make it sure it's transparent. We can kind of reflect that back inside there by doing the following. And pick up just a little bit more of a vertical change here to get that guy to read right back inside that form. There it is. There's glass line to surface. There's exterior of the building. Exterior, exterior, flying right through the shape. A little bit of softening off, a bit of green space in through here, just kind of give it a little bit more of a personality. Take that out of there. There's my entry. A little more tone in that. Back out again, into that shadow, into that wall. And this companion piece as it runs through, and that rolls back. And just to sneak in a little bit more of this, a little bit more, maybe a glass surface back in there, just to kind of break that up just a bit. There it is. There's a pretty neat little thumbnail sketch here. Just really interesting how this thing just rolls through space, very committed. Oh, we got some questions here. They're breaking the larger pads. Somebody that Doug would love this. Yeah, hey Doug, good to have you on board, Chief. How are you? I'd love to see this. This would make an incredible music hall of sorts. Yeah, that'd be a neat one, Shadow. That'd be great. Can't have public meetings anymore. I take this as a gaming house. That's pretty interesting. Good call there, guys. So here we are. And again, just put a little bit of background on this thing. Just give it a reference here. Just kind of roll some sky through here. Just again, there it is. Just very gently putting all these pieces together. As I said, today the purpose of this stream is to establish just some thumbnail sketches on just some basic architectural sketches. They're a little bit unique, and then we can go from there in terms of maybe building some things. Let me just kind of clean the sign up a little bit here. And again, I want to stress, and I want to get your input on this, guys, since you're watching here today. How do you feel about doing that? Wouldn't that be kind of cool to do a series of little thumbnail sketches like this, then come back in and say, oh, let's pick a couple of themes and go a little further. Let's tighten it down. Let's see what happens with this thing. And that'd be kind of fun. So hopefully, let me know what you think and what the vote is here to get that done. So let's go back in here and finish this off and just get through it. A little bit more of that. Get that to work. Take this and just tone it just a little bit. And then just for what it's worth, add a little bit of scale. Real tiny, way back in the distance there to kind of give us some sense of how large this thing really truly is. Not everything. Oh yeah, it'd be cool. Yeah, it'd be a neat gaming house. That's not a bad idea there, Chip. Cool. Call it the Shadow Cafe. How's that sound, Shadow? Pretty good. There we are. A little bit more tone in this thing where this thing swirls away. into that low spot, into that radius. And then work it right back into that. This could be all aluminum, etc. Carbon fiber of some sort, just a nice, really round form, just to kind of get that shape to work right there. There she is. So there's one. Let's go back in and just do a simple elevation. Let's see what happens when we do this. Now, when you work in an elevation, it's really no perspective involved, but you can cheat it to make it appear to have some perspective to it. So let's kind of start with a nice, simple sway line here. Let's kind of bring this out. Just working your elevation, no perspective. In the ground line just a little bit. Now let's cut this thing back. Whoa, yeah, that's cool. Roll that thing back. Let's bring this into play here too. This might be a very rotunda portion on the inside here. Let's kind of put that back in place. There's a rotunda of some sort. Let's really make this thing matter. Let's come back in there. This is all glass. And as it comes down here, it's going to get this thing to just. There's my structural roof line there. Let's kind of cut this one back. Now let's come the other way. Almost like a double butterfly. Just really neat looking, just very organic compound form here. Just gonna split that right up. Let's put a design line right through that guy. This is rotunda. This is shroud over the top of that. Here's my secondary piece that comes in here and does this. Let's put a little bit of tone in this, so it tells you where it scallops. Scallops being the surface comes up, then kicks a little bit. Let's come right back in through here and just kind of rotate this out. And come right off of that shape right there and just build this guy right out of him. There it is. Around, down to form, and back again. Back to ground. Let me stop there for a moment. Look how simple that form is, how it reads here. Need more Scotch cafe. Here we got us a house, shadow house. Let's go back in and just kind of finish some things here, and we'll just add some cosmetics to it here. Let's say we wanted to build this thing and begin to take it from an elevation into a perspective study. That's not a difficult task at all, gang. What we're going to do is get this guy to read a little bit more. Let's get this thing to kind of, there's a glass here, one there, one there. Let's kind of break it up. Now let's take this and just bring it forward. Let's take this, that shape, and let's bring that forward. Let's put a rotunda right out here. Let's take this shape. And we just took an elevation in one fell swoop and add a little bit of perspective to it, kind of give it a planting and a grounding here. So what do you think, guys? So far so good. This is making sense. Just getting to really good, just really fast, rapid thumbnail sketches here to work with. go back inside this guy. Let's put a little bit of tone in this. This rotunda. Let that disappear. Let's follow that leading glass, which tells us that inside piece is almost like a parabolic, like a cone. It comes right up out of just out of the whole thing. It just comes up and rotates down into a nice little form down where the ground line is here. So let's put some presence in this thing. There's a break line here. That's that to that to that. And when we don't, gee, just a bit of that. Let's put another base line in through here. Kind of break this up. Let's put a little bit of this in place. Again, just to soften it off. Isn't it fun how you can keep add to it and get a center of interest in this place? You begin to really look at how to begin to chase it and go through the whole process at Crusader headquarters. Hey, all right, that sounds good, Shadow. Very cool. Let's see. Star Citizen. Well, thank you. That's a nice compliment. Thank you very much. Go back in and get this inside design line here. Now let's follow that same lead here. That's it, thing down the ground. Now let's come right back in and really give it some substance here. So it's not going to be. Let me rotate this just a bit. So it's not going to be this to this to that to that. Notice how that plane kind of shifts a little bit, goes from lean to almost vertical. Let's go back in and break it again. There's a contact there, there, and there. That's all glass. Down to there, and there. And through here. This little trick here is going to lead me into the sketch. Take from outside to inside. Just a little bit of a piece that introduces itself right in that radius down at the base of the floor here. There it is. That's cool. Really working well. This is fun stuff, gang. I hope this is making sense for you. Again, rotate that up, section through, up, and over the top of that parabola. So let's raise that just a bit more, so a little bit more of an offset. Very cool. There it is. Let's get this. There's a insignia. That surface right there, so there's a little bit of mistake. Let's make that work for us. Let's kind of bring that right into play. That mistake, there's a little bit of a lift in the shape itself. All of a sudden, it takes away that static of being a consistent sweeper. It just has a lot of character to it here, guys. And just for fun, let's put a little bit of reflected light back into this glass here. Some sort of environmental reflection coming off the surface or the environment off the side of the vehicle, or the structure here. Let's go back in a bit more. This is soften this off just a touch. And begin to put a ground base on this thing, around this whole area, and just take you right off the page. Boulevard. Roundabout. Entry egress, back out of the shape again. And what's really cool about this, guys, look at this. You can start to pattern this guy. Look at that. Now you just begin to break up the shapes and take on a real different dynamic here. What I want to really stress in this sketch is notice how we started with this study here, guys. This was started as an elevation. And the nice thing about elevation and the great thing about architectural, just theme sketches and concept work is this. It'd just be really interesting to just take the whole thing and kind of bring it into perspective by just bringing out the drive lines here. Now again, this is happening because in elevation, there's no perspective. So these drive lines here, all these lines, are going back to a vanishing point somewhere right in through here. I'll show you that maybe tomorrow's stream, how that begins to function. Oh, we got a question here. Looks like something on it. Let's see. Crusader headquarters. Shadow, hey, that might be fun. Design the contrast dynamics. Hey, that's it. Well, I think we just did it. This is our new headquarters, Shadow. Hopefully, if you like it, we'll call it ours. How's that? Well, we can do that. So there it is. Put more overhang on this to take some of the bite out of that. That's more shadow in it. There it is. That's cool. Again, thick and thin. Let's put a little bit of brown on top of this thing too to give a little bit of dimension to it. So there's number 2, just a simple little study right there, guys. Just really opening things up, ballpoint pen, real lucid sketches. Nothing's really pinned in, nothing's really determined in terms of being final. It's just a thought. It's just what are the shapes doing? What are we looking at here? When I come back, oh, made a mistake here. Let's make that count. This might be just some sort of a ground-based pattern, taken away from being a typical promenade, and we just convert it into conventional tile system of some sort back in behind the walkway. All of a sudden, look at the dimension you created there from an elevation into a very simple study with a lot of glass up front and so forth. We'll get into some more things as we go down the line here. Would be cool. Let's see. Would be cool to see different perspectives taught with your design process. Yeah, well, I'm going to try and get there, Shadow. There's a lot to really cover. And I thought today might be kind of a nice, let me just move first, I'm sorry. A nice change of pace to come back away from that GT40, go back into some fundamental things here. And I think you begin to see how all these little principles begin to work off of these perspective principles. So I think as time moves on here, I'll do a whole series of these elements as how they all begin to work. So it all starts with understanding that each one of these sketches that I've been working with here do have a format in them. There's a principle behind them. But once you know the principles, you can work with them, and you can, once you know the principles, you can cheat with them. That's the neat thing about what this does. So, and I'm not saying cheat in the sense that it's an evil thing to do, but really understanding it comes from, number 1, it all begins right there. Perspective drives everything. I always remember the mentor of mine, Sid Mead. First comment he made in our drawing classes was, gentlemen, remember this always, forever, forever, forever. Perspective is a genesis of illustration. It all starts there. If you understand how perspective operates, no matter what the subject matter is, it makes a huge difference. So there's a couple of places there. So let's kind of get a fresh sheet of paper. We'll carry on here. There's phase 1. Let's get a fresh sheet. We'll go through it again here, guys. We'll clean this pen up a little bit here. What do we go to an oversight here and really open up the form here? Let's do this. Let's get a platform set first. And just come right down the pike. There it is. Vanishing point out here, vanishing point up here. So I'm still working with that same, hey, Brett, how are you? Good to see you, Brett. Everything good? Super. Well, I'll tell you what, now that you're on board here, I've not forgotten about your request about the pricing for commission work. So I'll get with you sometime in Discord and put that together for you. So thanks for your patience with me. But we're doing some architectural studies here today, and I just want to start with a platform. Let's say we get the platform down. Let's just kind of build this platform by doing this. Vertical here. Let's add a little round out here and come right back to center here. Now I'm going to come back in through here first of all and get this to work. I'm going to come out here. Then get an inner circle. Notice I'm using perspective now to set this up. And an upper halo into that. There's my second building. I'm doing like a little site plan with an overview here of a very large space. Here we go. Into this. Into the heights. Real loose. Get that first footprint in right there. There are 3 structures coming off that common radius right there. So let's kind of tune them in nice and loosely. There we are. 1, 2, and 3. Right off that center line. Now let's get to the Premier piece here. Turn this over. Rotate this for a moment here. This is my leading edge. I'll break the building up by doing the following here. Little tower. I'll come in off of this and start to break up that shape. Pardon me. This is more of like a little complex here. So we're going to kind of put a little more juice into this thing. So let's come right down that tower line off that platform. Let's come in over here. It's be like a big metropolitan city center of some sort with a lot of activity. Park space, green space, sidewalks, reflecting pools. A big geodesic dome in the center of that piece. So something that looks like a little cityscape of some sort where all of a sudden it just comes right in and really rolls through. Hey, I'll be going to sleep now. I just want to say hi, guys. Wonderful. Yeah, hey, thanks very much, Brad. Take care of yourself and rest well here. So, very good. Nice to hear from you. Good to have you on board again, Chief. There we are. Let's break this in. Let's break this. Let's make this thing work for us, too. Maybe it's a secondary little needle that comes off of that shape that does it following. There it is. A little bit of a floater. Cool. So, there it is. There's my primary. Let's put a bit of tone in this. A little bit of tone in this. It's going to be behind that form. Break it back on the diagonal. Sorry for moving the pad around here, guys. I just want to make sure we get some pretty good, interesting material here. Let's do this, this, and this. 3 companion structures around this metroplex. Let's put a little bit of break line in it. Put a break line there and a little break line there. Let's begin to break this shape up. Just establishing a little bit of character here. Don't want to go too far. Just want to get the shapes to read a little bit. Enough tone in here. Now let's begin to look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's bring it down to ground. Some glass. Maybe just, pardon me as I turn this upside down and get more. Let's get one split right through it. That's all glass. This is all glass, but it breaks right there. How's that for a bit of a surprise? Just trying to keep it really fluid in terms of a nice little complex inside that whole surface here where this thing is moving. So let's kind of come back in through here, draw through it, pick up where that horizon line is, and just put a little bit of scope back in through here, just some scale. A bit of a recess. Softening things off again, just to kind of give a little bit of softness so it doesn't look like it's all hardscape. And then these might be little recesses here, for example. And to give it a sense of some urban direction here, there's maybe an entryway here that comes along. Maybe that goes in behind here. That goes around, meets that. And eventually gets you into that place. Let's kind of move this over. Let's do that. That's kind of cool. Come back in here and do this. A little bit of tile or soft scraping through here. Entry plaza. With a sense of people moving and so forth and scale. There's this idea of just little dots can indicate where that, how massive this little complex really is in perspective here. I get evil liar. Very good, Chip. Evil liar bits. All right. So let's go back in through here. I just want to finish this off. Again, the whole purpose of today's stream is to develop a series of small little architectural theme sketches just to put some impact, in it. Just a little bit of background on this guy, just to kind of give it a presence here. I'm beginning to lose it. It's there. And there. A little deeper with this guy, so it's a little further back. And again, bring it forward. And what I want you to notice here, hopefully, is how I built that whole surface off that one circle. Up, brought it up again, brought it up again. The whole thing grows out of that one form. It's a one big large cylinder. It's kind of really cool to work with here, so pretty neat. That's just very interesting how it all becomes to come together. So any questions so far, gang? Is this making sense? A little more tone in this building. Oh, this is neat. Let's do this. Entry. See how those mistakes begin to really assist what the forms are doing? Now let's just do this and get that same thing done. There's my entryway right there. Really interesting. Didn't think about that. It just came about as a result of making that one line change. And that's the beauty about the sketch rendering skill, about how the whole thing begins to change as a result of maybe one little interface of change can make it all happen very quickly. And then just put another line in through here. Just kind of break that fast up. There it is. It's cool. There it is. But more of that, and then we put more of a spear on this guy too. So then maybe one up for this guy too. Some telecommunication systems. So there we are. This is a nice little thumbnail sketch of maybe a complex area up the one side here. And that's where she is there, gang. So let's go back in and look at this. Let's do this little thumbnail sketch off the one side. Let's come back in. Again, the reason I'm going this route here, let me stop here for a moment. I'm going this route because, again, I want to really stress that these guys, every one of these sketches we've done thus far, are all built off of that very simple drive line. Very interesting. Y'all can keep the shadow scotch going. I'm getting this is your place? All right, very cool. But again, back to the basics. When I started the stream today, about talking about how valuable perspective really is. Notice, I started with a platform, meaning a space. It's a frame. That frame's going to help me guide through the process of developing the sketch. Here, I'm a little bit, my eye level is really way up here in terms of way back in through here, up on there, for example, where I cheated the horizon line by dropping it back down. But notice in this case, my platform starts right there. So now I'm going to come back up and begin to build this thing. I'm just going to break it up by doing the following. This to this, drop it down, just build a shape first. Just think in terms of pure volume, take it back in perspective. Now let's drop this down. Let's kind of cant this back, which means that's going to alter what this is doing here. That's going to kick back, which I'm going to do by dropping this back. Take that inside just a bit. Now notice how I'm using perspective to guide me through developing the shape. Back inside. And again, keeping this vertical, this little salt box area here. Back to this. It's going to come back into this. Pardon me as I rotate this just a touch. It's going to change the shape of this form back here. That breaks. That's a diagonal in there. That's not quite flush. I'm going to come back in again. Pick up ground, which is right there. This thing floats just a little bit, comes out again, and I'm going to take this back. So I'm just going to recess where that whole module sits. I'm going to come back down here to maybe a ground line. Let's go back and really administer this. Let's go back and pick this up, step that back, step that back. A bit more of a slowed down, simplified form, but it's still really managing to make things work. Let's kind of pancake that back there and do this. That's kind of neat. A little bit of an offset here. Let's kind of take this around the corner. Let's take that in. Bit of a drop there. Modify that just a bit. Not so much an organic form here, but just a simple series of breaking up planes to get the shapes to read and work. So hopefully that will help you here, kind of put some things together again. Sometimes you get in a lot of organic things. Yeah, it's fun to look at, but sometimes just very simple shape manipulation with typical form study can be really a lot of fun to work with here. So let's go back and through here, pick up the center line, there, there, and there. Get this glass to work for us now. We just kind of split it once. That's all we need. Come back down here. Let's get this work. Let's get this skylight to work. Let's split it there. Let's take that shape right on in. Put a little bit of tint to it so it kind of takes some of the transparency into the form. Oop, pardon me. Let me move this pad up just a bit here. There it is. Comes down, back up again. And in this end, same thing. We have a little skylight up on top going the other direction here. Just pretty interesting how to break the planes up. Maybe this is all glass down below. A little bit more line strength in here to kind of get it to read, then split it. I mean, look at the difference in variation of theme there you get by just moving through the whole idea. I'm pretty sure I went to this building. You did? Oh, all right, Chip. You're a good man. So, did you have fun with it? There it is there. There it is there. Again, just very simple. There it is here. Just kind of come back out front here. Just kind of build a little bit more of this base. Draw through it. Come forward. Pick up that. Now maybe this comes out into a boulevard of some sort and begins to do that. And right in the middle of this thing, there's a nice little road town here. Change the pattern a little bit and reflect it back in. Move an overhang in this glass. Let's get that shadow to work for us. Really cool. There it is. And just a little bit of that to reflect it back in. There it is. A bit of a background in this thing. Let's come back in through here to get this to kind of function for us here. Where that stilt is, that comes there. This comes back and meets its mate right about there. So very cool. So this is all negative here. So let's kind of pull that back in place so we can see where we're going with it. And again, into the round. Into the angle, little boulder, a bit of shadow from the overhang, real loose, rapid architectural sketches. Just trying to get some life into these guys. And there we are, gang. What do you think? Coming together all right? Oh, it's very simple. They all come pixelated. That looks way better than all the school work buildings I was ever. How you doing, Pixel? Good to have you on board. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you. So far, so good. Let's kind of carry this out a little bit here. I'm just trying to go through the whole purpose of today's stream, Pixel, is to go back into some very fundamental architectural studies and using perspective and just some rapid sketch systems about develop some thumbnails and some concept work here. Now that I thought we'd take, for example, today and just do a nice series of, I don't know if you're joining us or not, there's the first pass we did right there. There's the first sketch we did. So that was one layout, just ballpoint pen sketches of architectural, rapid sketch studies. And I thought we'd do a series today of going through some ideas and then maybe pick one or two tomorrow, maybe pick one tomorrow, begin to fine tune a little bit, maybe put a little more detail into it, a little bit of color, a little bit more line weight, etc. Then on Thursday, come back in and finish a real nice finished piece as far as a structural piece goes. It'll be really a lot of fun. Oh, it'll be kind of fun to add to this. Let me go back to the sketch room one. Such a static. Let's do this. You need a bit of height, maybe some sort of a business tower behind it all, but just add that little function to it. Really cool. Yep, ballpoint pen, Pixel, that's all it is. Just ballpoint pen. So we're going to go back in. That's the first one we did. And we're working on this plate here. Start with this little city complex, kind of move the eye level up and look down on a certain complex, some outbuildings, little promenade area, or center core with a glass dome, entryway into this very stealth-looking, like angular structure. I can't even sign my name right after the doctor. Oh, no, yeah, you can. Yes, you can. Not a problem. So there's, again, the whole purpose here is to get into some really quick little gesture sketches, and let's kind of do this, just kind of like we've done in all the others too. Let's kind of give this some softness. Just to take some of the curse off of the edging here. Just some little soft stuff here. Just a little bit of tone in this. come down that promenade, that walkway, with some real softness to it, just to kind of take the curse off of this thing, being so crisp. So there we are. Let's put some shadow in this thing. Real fast theme sketches, looking for concept. There you go, a little thumbnail sketch here again, a little architectural study. And I hope this is making some sense for you guys out there. Let me know, what do you think? Coming together all right? Looking pretty good? A lot of fun. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Chip. I mean, that really helps. I mean, I'm going to go back to, again, to a very simple premise here. Start something like this. Again, the purpose today is to get some thumbnail sketches down, say in the realm of architecture. Do a series, for example. Maybe this week it's architecture. Maybe next week it's transportation or product design. We do the thumbnail sketches and into the final stuff, and go into a final presentation piece. Hey, McCormick, how are you? Looks awesome. 2, 3, 4. Would you mind, McCormick? Who are you, for example? That sounds like a very familiar name, and I'm not sure if I know you by name or not. But if you don't mind telling me who you are, it'd be great to say hello. Hey, Justin, how are you? Good to have you on board, Justin. Thank you. Is it making sense so far? Good to have you join us here. Again, the purpose of the stream, again, sorry to be redundant here again today, is very simple. I want to make sure we get some thumbnail sketches down, an architectural rapid sketch concept work, different variations on theme. This is where we started, for example, Justin. We went there with some thumbnail studies, looking for really interesting little formats. We started here with a perspective, into an elevation, then we moved it into perspective. I started the stream today by doing this, how vital it is to really, this is a very, very poor, scratchy sketch, but how critical it is to get that horizon line down and work with those variations in terms of leading edges, back to drive lines, no matter if you go above or below eye level. It's really critical. These sketches are all built on that very same principle. Yeah, there's no horizon line, there's no vanishing points, but I'm working with them nonetheless. They're all captive in these sketches. So that's where we are. The gang is all here. Hey, very cool. It's next door. Oh, that's it. That's who Justin is. Next door. Hey, thanks, Justin. Boy, I feel like an absolute idiot. Well, that's true, but anyway. But anyhow, here we are, gang. Let's kind of go back and look at these. Let's go through a couple more here. Just those are 2. Let's go back in and add. Let's go back and look at a couple of some pretty interesting, some geometric stuff here. Combination with. Let's do this. Let's pick up a design line here and do this. Start a leading edge. That's my leading edge. I'm going to come back in space and begin to pick up the volume first. There it is. Basic volume. I'm going to come up with a sway line and really stretch this thing. And then begin to open it up and then begin to pull it back by doing the fall. Just take care of the whole upper right there. Now I'm going to come back in again and just pick up perspective and do this. And at that breaker, right there. Come back in and I'll pick up this. This is my end cap. Now I'm going to come back in at a certain point and extend this roof and come back with that same peak and take this back in perspective. Next step is here, bring this into play and start to break the shapes up. Bring it down, break this in, break this in, cut it back, take that line through and bring it right back up again. Just shelling it in here, gang. There it is. Now let's come back up on top. All right, let me stop this. Sorry for the silence here, gang. What do you think? These are great. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. Pixel, you're absolutely correct. These are just real fast little gestures in terms of putting together some programs, looking at how to put together the absolute presence of perspective, how to deal with it, and how to change shape and tempo by utilizing the forces of space that are at our disposal here. So again, series of little thumbnails, and eventually we're going to turn into maybe a series of nice architectural sketches, and maybe a series. And this whole week we'll dedicate this to maybe the architectural side, and we'll do the same thing in the future, references with maybe product and card stuff, and do a series of, and then turn it into hopefully an educational bit, as Shadow had pointed out earlier. Let's just kind of get this into place. Break up the glass surfaces here. 1 to 2. Let's take this guy and break it. Let's take that guy, break it, double it up, a little bit of change in tempo. Again, a little bit more horizon line to kind of reflect that through. Or environment into the glass. Into the glass. Step this off. Let me stop right there. Just get your evaluation. What do you think, gang? Coming together all right? Making sense? We're going to clean the pen up a little bit here. And again, let's create a little bit of a foreground in this thing. A little softness in this thing. Tone that away, kind of drive the viewer back into the picture plane. And there it is, a little thumbnail study. little perspective sketch here. And chip 7 from the 50s. Looks like an XL Suburban home. Yeah, it could be. And let's see, from the 50s version of the future. Looks very cool. Hey, thanks, Chip. Well, that's another example of how to work with a ballpoint pen and get really just certain spots of drama along the way to develop the shape and understand where the forms are coming from and what to deal with and how to handle these things. So let's kind of close it out here. I don't want to bore you to death here, guys. Hope this has been of some help to you. Let's go back and we'll just look at some additional things here. Let me get some of the mess out of the way here. Let's go back and do a little elevation study. How's this? Now I'm going to use a background, just kind of spell out what some of these shapes are. And for what it's worth, I'm going to add a little bit of section in this guy, so it changes pace just a bit here, so we can see what this guy is doing. So it comes out, bevels, breaks, breaks, vertical. Again, same thing here. Bevels, brakes, brakes, vertical. And again, bevel, brakes, a little flatter. Because it's coming back toward that median, that center line here. Section here, same thing. Bevels, comes down, picks up that flat, and almost goes to ground. So there are my station points right there, gang. How this form, let's add one more here. This guy would take this guy right here and runs in, does the following, comes back, comes right back almost to ground. So a little bit of a slope and then in here. So it's gonna hit that accent point right there. And again, come out of that secondary accent and take that right off into that floating cantilever roof. There it is. It's a pretty interesting little set of circumstances here. It's all very faceted, extremely, very contemporary, away from the one above it there, Chip. A bit of a different feel, and then putting some sections into it. So let's see, do a little variation in the theme here. Let's do this. A bit of a different structure here, but the same basic impact or character. A bit of an overhead plan here. Let's kind of come back in and do this. Get this kind of cut back underneath there. There's a nice overhang here. Just going to bring this into play here. There's the overhang. Now back down to ground. A bit of a recess and a little glass structure behind that. How's that? Lots of space. Entry egress. Come out of the form. Just developing a really nice loose thumbnail study over what this shape is really doing. This ground into entry egress, promenade, pool area here, a reflecting pool of some sort. Now we come right back up and pick up that reflection of that overhang. About right there. bit of body form into it, a little bit of an offset. A bit of a background, set it in, take it away from being so crisp. And the antenna work, a little bit of shadow across that, fill that in, and maybe one little bone line across this. Maybe this guy does this. Yeah, that's cool. So that comes along and just breaks again. Nice. Well, gang, I think I'm going to just call that a day. And there's some really interesting form studies here. I think in pixel sectioning, it really helps us to the form more. Very good. Just looking cool. Some magic. The ballpoint pen is interesting, Doug. It's not magic at all, and you're capable of doing the same thing and then better. But these are just variations on a theme. Putting a bit of section into this thing. This is not the same architectural piece, obviously, a variation on a theme, but getting into more of a scope of a sheer building system and so forth, and then taking that into account and then changing the tempo. Once you get the theme down, you can see what some of the surfaces might be doing, and just take that into an extrapolated building study here. But these are, the whole intent today was, again, to go back in and really look at some interesting things in terms of how to work with a perspective study and how to generate the perspective into creating forms and following those principles and rules to really make some unique looking surfaces and shapes. So all that to say, let's go back and review here where we are. This is where I started. This is sketch number 1. First plate, just a couple of little loosies here, and put it all together. So that was the first series. I'm just, again, looking at a ground line. Here's my base here. My drive lines are here and here. Came back with a leading edge and then dropped that back into shape. And I should show you this too. This is a very lousy sketch. So here we are coming back in through here with a basic perspective horizon line, getting the VPs down, get your leading edge set, then into that structure, build all these forms. When you come above and below eye level, same process takes place. I'll do more of this in time to come here. But I decided after last week's stream, we go back into some basic fundamental things and look at some really interesting setups for structural surfaces and especially architecture. It's very intriguing. You can open it all up to very new looking things. So that's where we started. Here are the sketches. We started here with a perspective and 2-point, then went to an elevation here. All we did here was this guy first. This is the first sketch we did right here. That was just a nice little ground study right there. Then from that ground study, we kind of moved it over and said, let's put some perspective into it. So the same principle be held here. All these drive lines are going back to one common one-point vanishing point. It's the same principle here. So that's it. That was page number 1. Then we went from that page into this, like a building complex, much more of an overview of a little, like a metroplex of some sort, cluster of 3 buildings, geodesic dome to work with, some walkways, some breakups and so forth in the actual plan form itself. But we started this one off with a platform. That became the perspective platform. And into that, I used that platform to build all these shapes in perspective. And then the next one, very simplified form, going back to a much more rectangular piece, which is breaking it up a little bit more, so it's much more cubistic, but the same principles apply. Notice my leading edge is here, my drive lines take me away, and I follow those principles, and this is what it begins to yield. I hope I can say this respectfully here to all of you who are tuning in. Now we're a little bit later. It's so intriguing to think in terms of once you understand the principles of perspective, those things begin to govern the newness. That's the genesis of illustration. Once you understand how it works, you can begin to use it and break its theme, utilize it to change. It's the very same thing. Much the same, Shadow. In fact, after this series, maybe tomorrow we do a little refinement piece, and then Thursday maybe find a nice little finished sketch. And then what we're going to do next is go into interiors. And we'll pick an interior study and go back and show you here's how it starts with perspective. Here's how we go into phase 2. Here's how we're going to phase 3 to finish it up. So I'm going to start to go and regenerate here a little bit to go more of a theme base as opposed to doing different things day to day. I think it's really vital for me at least to go back in and really settle down in terms of, here's a principle, here's the results. Here's another principle, here are the results. Here's a third principle, here are the results. And we'll take our time and go through methodically, getting those things established. And of course, if the audience is looking for certain things to be done, I'll be more than happy to comply to get those things done as well. But yes, to answer your question, Shadow, it all works the same way. So using perspective as your base. So there's the second plate we did. Then the last one we just did was, again, very simple, again, elevation study, not elevation, 2-point perspective. Very, very dramatic, a long stretch, and then opening it back up again. This in the plan view comes in at 9 degrees and it opens up at 90, this wing here. But we cheat that using perspective to exaggerate this. This last elevation study was just purely that, an elevation study. And what I did with that is just looking at sections and breaking up some of the geometric and the stealth planes with it. It kind of interesting, like a convention center, let's call it that. Then out of that variation on theme, what it began to produce in terms of really a little commercial building of some sort with the same set of architectural stealth-like forms. So I hope this has really been of help to you today, gang. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions about drawing and so forth, or interested in lessons and so forth, I can be reached at drcontrast.com. I've got a 9-lesson plan on basic drawing skills. And Doug, if you're still there, thank you very much for your son joining forces with me, Landon. I'll make sure we get back in touch with him soon to discuss some things with him as he goes through the process. So thank you very much, Doug. It's a real pleasure to work with you and your son, Landon. So all the best. And once again, I don't know if you knew it or not, but Nemo sent me a note this morning about his father's passing past Sunday. So Nemo, if you tuned in later, please let us know. We want you to know we appreciate you. We're thinking about your family. Very sad news about your father's passing. So hang in there and be the forebearer and be the vanguard for your family, which I know you will. But we just want you to know we're thinking of you, and all the very best to you and your family. So thank you. And last but not least, I will say this: if I've said something right today, man, let me know. If I've said something wrong, let me know. I want to make sure we have really good communications on this stream system every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we'll pick up the pieces tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and we'll go a little refinement from one of these sketches. We'll maybe do a vote and so forth, and which one you like, and we'll go into some more detail with it and kind of slow it down and more finished piece. Then on Thursday, go into maybe a little color studies. Again, still keeping it very rapid, very, very melodic, and very loose. So we're going to get caught up in trying to be so perfect that it destroys us. So last but not least, again, folks, this is the most important part of the stream. I just want you to know, never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. Thanks very much, gang. Have a great day. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. All the best. Thank you.